Hi fantasy managers, and welcome to FPL Team Talk. Welcome to the first video of the new season 2024-25. I'm going to launch straight into it with my draft side, looking at the friendlies, engaging on Twitter quite a lot with different people, and I've put together a side that will no doubt change before the final deadline, but I'm going to split it into two different parts. Those players which I feel are nailed at the moment in my side, and those players which are still up for a little bit of debate. So as normal, thank you for all of those that have contributed and helped support the channel. I've really enjoyed it and I do appreciate it. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe, hit that like button, it costs you absolutely nothing. And in the meantime, let's jump into it. So my draft match day 1, let's crack on. I am going straight for the players which I think are nailed in my side. I think Trent has got to be one of those first players. I just love the fixtures he's got. He's had a price drop since last season as well, which just makes him more affordable in my eyes and a bit more appealing. I mean, I can't sit here and say that I'm absolutely... He is nailed, but do I have concerns? Yeah, I do. At the moment, for all the information we got, I definitely think he plays and he starts. The only thing that could possibly be an issue for me, I think, is about if he's playing as a wing back or they're playing 4 and he's playing right back and Roy's playing left back and they're very similar in terms of getting forward. I'm almost tempted to save myself $1 million and go for Robbo. Trent more than likely though will be on more set pieces, but is that enough to pay $1 million? Possibly not. So I will keep an eye on that, but I definitely want a Liverpool player, and in terms of defenders, I think he's the standout option. He actually scored fewer points than any other season for the last 6 seasons last year, but he did have fewer minutes as well. So Trent didn't play a lot during the Euros, obviously played those first couple of games and that experiment was kind of ditched. Scored the winning penalty famously, of course. Should be fairly fresh and start for the new season. Just got to keep an eye on those friendlies, and that's going to be a bit of a theme, I think, come the rest of all these players. Keeping an eye on friendlies, press conferences and new signings. But Trent, I do want him in that side. I think he looks really good. Next one that I think has to be nailed on for me is Cole Palmer. Talked about it with a friend the other day and just and ahhing about it. I just don't think my mind has been changed at all. 22 goals, 13 assists. His actual output is over a goal a game, but his XGI 0.78, that is non-penalties, and that's still amazing. If he didn't have penalties, as 0.78 is still very, very good. He's absolutely got to be nailed on penalties, got to be nailed in that Chelsea side. 244 points, nearly won the Golden Boot over Haaland. He just looks brilliant, and the fixtures they have, with the exception of Man City at home, I want to jump on board. They have some great fixtures. So even though he's had a huge price rise, 10.5, he's got to be nailed for me. And while we're on it, even though I don't have a particular love for Chelsea, they didn't have maybe a good end to the last season, but in Nkunku, all the information we're getting out of Maresca at the moment just is that he can play anywhere across that sort of midfield and up front. He just looks brilliant. He looks sharp in pre-season as well, with a full season pre-season behind him. 6.5. If he plays with those fixtures for Chelsea, I just think he's an absolute bargain. You look at what he's done in the past at Leipzig, and I know it's Bundesliga. 0.86, 0.81. These are all his expected goal involvement. 0.72 and 0.86 last 4 seasons. And he's been averaging at least 30 games per season. So even though his injury record wasn't very good last year, I don't think longer term there's ever been a problem with him. So with a full pre-season under his belt, I think he's just got to be a 6.5, starting that Chelsea side with those fixtures. He's just someone I don't think I want to go without. 6.5 is a really good price, and we know how good he can be from Champions League, let alone his Bundesliga record. Nkunku, yeah, for me, he's got to be nailed. The other one is Eberechi. Even with the loss of Elise, it doesn't put me off particularly. His overall output looks good. He's now on penalties as well, we think. The fact that Elise is not there, will that restrict his output? Possibly. I mean, there's 2 ways you can look at it. Possibly he will have one less player to create chances for, or create chances to provide or gain for him, but then maybe now he's more of the man to go through and everything will flow through him. His price seems really good. He's all on set pieces. He's absolutely nailed. Talisman for Palace. The only thing I guess that could throw a sort of fly in the ointment would be if he does move to Manchester City. And I think at 7 million, even though that would be a tremendous price, I just don't think we could guarantee his minutes. So that would be a problem. But without wanting to spread rumours, that's what's possibly been talked about at the moment. As far as we're concerned, he's a Palace player. I think he looks really good. 7 million, again, a good price. Problem is we do have just so many good midfield options, but Eze, and then we just had in Nkunku 6.57. Just look really good. Next one I'm going to go for is Isak. I think he has to go in one of those up front slots. Southampton at home, great fixture. Bournemouth, 2 South Coast clubs in the first 2 games. Tottenham at home, we know they can ship goals. What I like about Isak as well, it's just home records is unbelievable. 21 goals in 30 games, a lot of those coming at home, and he just deals with goals more than anything else. You expect him to absolutely have that up front slot nailed with Wilson playing a bit part. Will he take minutes off Isak? You suspect he will, but I don't think I'd expect him to affect his starts. And Isak, when he's on the pitch, I just think he's first choice, 10th penalty taker. So with those fixtures, I just think he's nailed. He's got to be in for me. Isak, absolutely good captaincy choice for game week 1 as well, I think. The other one as well, maybe a bit more controversial. Didn't think of him to start with, but I think, I've been talked into this so much so that I'm fully bought into him. The fixtures I wouldn't say are amazing, but they're not great. They're not terrible either. West Ham away, they can definitely score. Arsenal at home, we know that even though it's the best defence, Villa can score against anyone. Leicester away, nothing to worry about. Everton at home, decent fixture. Just Ollie Watkins, with Douglas Luiz gone as well, suspect he'll be on pens. I've got to be happy about that, I guess. But his record from the penalty spot is not good. So hopefully if he can improve that, maybe. He's got a real split between his goal threat and his assists. But the fact that he played 37 games last year, 36 games this year, he's got double figures for goals returns in each of the last 4 seasons. His XG was higher than any other seasons, and now he's got penalties on top. I just don't think I can overlook him. For 9 million, I still think that's a really good price for essentially a top 4 side, a striker who's definitely going to play on pens every week and 90 minutes, an attacking side as well. I think that's really good. So I'm absolutely all in Ollie Watkins. He's one of those that I can think just put in your side, forget about him. He's just going to continue to tick along. He can be quite explosive. Now add penalties on top. Looks even better. The only thing I suppose I'm not worried about, that I'll just keep an eye on about, when Champions League rolls round, they can't play him in every domestic game and the Champions League, can they? His minutes are going to have to be managed a little bit. So I just think that's a heck of a workload for him. And if he was to get injured or pick up a niggle, I don't know how he's going to run that off. He's going to need some rest. Duran looks like an able replacement, but I don't know. That's the only thing I worry about. Will he be rotated or rested for some Premiership games? Right now, with the information we've got, I think we've got to assume he's going to start the season before those Champions League games hit in, and that's why I want to go for him. But he looks great. I don't mind benching him or against Arsenal, but you know what? At home, I think Villa can score against anyone. He could play that, and on pens, it's just like a nice cherry on top. So those are the players that I've got, and I am locking those in. Trent, Eze, Palmer, and Nkunku, Watkins, Isak. I think they look really good. As you'll see, my whole side actually costs 100 million. Let's go through some of the other players, and they've all got slight issues, but we'll round them up at the end, put them together, but I do want to justify why I picked some of them, and then I'll go through some options at the end, because they're really interesting. So the one I'm going for at the moment is Robert Sanchez. Now, I know there's lots of talk about Chelsea signing a new keeper, so we'll have to keep an eye on for that, for sure. So have great fixtures, with the exception of that Manchester City game at the start of the season. Who knows, perhaps they can catch Man City a little bit cold, start of the season, possible clean sheet, save points. I don't know, we can dream a little bit. But we will have to keep an eye on for that. If they do not sign a keeper, 4.5, looks like he is the number one choice with the keepers they've got at the moment. That looks a really good value. But there is a worry that even if I keep him in, but before the transfer deadline, someone else could come in. But for 4.5, he looks good value. And because his fixtures are so good sort of longer term as well, I'm actually happy to just play him through every game. I don't really need a second keeper on the bench. I think if it came to it, though, Sanchez, and they're still looking for another keeper, I'd have to possibly look at pinching 0.5 somewhere else to upgrade Turner. But Turner, for 4 million, is about the only player I can think who's got any chance of starting. Not that I think he will, but he's just going to sit on the bench, and he'll offer nothing really for me because I'll just play Sanchez every week. The other one is interesting as well. With Astapinian out, reportedly, Barco would be the number one fullback choice for Brighton. Now, if that's the case, 4 million, I think that's a little bit too good to turn down. I don't know much about him, if I'm honest. Doesn't appear to have, according to the stats, a lot of goal threat. Need to keep an eye on pre-season. 4 million. He's not a player I'm going to play a lot in the first few weeks. Away at Everton, would I mind? Possibly not. Man United at home, again, possibly not. Arsenal away, definitely not. Ipswich at home, yes, I'll play. But we're expecting Estepinian back sort of middle of September. But even then, we don't know if he's absolutely sure to play. So it could be that Barco is a cheap enabler who's playing for a decent side. Could longer term keep his spot. We'll wait and see. But for me, 4 million at the moment, too good to turn down. Brighton defender, he comes in. I'm not entirely sold on the next couple of players, but for 4.5, I do think Everton's defence was really improved last season. 6th best in the Premier League. For a side that was sort of struggling down the bottom of the half of the table, I know they had that points reduction. The deduction, rather. But 6th was pretty decent, and they definitely have improved under Dyche. 4.5, he's one of quite a few different choices that we could have. Offers a little bit of a goal threat, and the fixtures don't look bad. I wouldn't mind playing at home to Brighton. Wouldn't mind playing at home to Bournemouth either. Away from home, I'd probably avoid at Tottenham and Villa. But Mikalenko, 4.5, definitely an option. And another one in the same boat, you got Joachim Andersen. Played every single game. There is a goal threat there. Good fixtures. Palace defensively look pretty good. 5th best defence in the league. I really would have liked to have gone through their sort of defensive stats in a sort of second half of the season since Glasner took over, because I'm pretty sure they'd be even better than that. But even over the course of the season, that's really impressive. So Joachim Andersen, 4.5. He just plays every week, and I can just set and forget. Dan Burns, the other one. We're bottoming out until at least Christmas, we think. I can't see that they're going to have a lot of other choices. They do have Livramento and obviously Lewis Hall there. Lascelles can play up in the back 5 alongside Shah as well. So I don't know. Dan Burns seems to just getting a nod constantly. 33 games last year, a little bit of a goal threat as well. Defensively, they just weren't the same as they were the season before, but Eddie Howe really loves Dan Burns. So fixtures look decent. I'll definitely be playing him in the first. Probably I wouldn't mind playing them at home to Tottenham. First 3 or 4 games, they look good. At home, they're still decent as well. In fact, they were 7th in the table playing at home. 2 of the first 3 are at home, according to defenders. So I wouldn't mind playing him then. Every reason to think that, yeah, he's still going to play every week at the moment for Newcastle. This is another one. You know what? I'm undecided. Mo Salah, it sounds crazy. When a player comes in with an XGI of 1.02, and that's without penalties, and I'm still undecided about him. He is 12.5 million. He's got still over 200 points. He's got pretty much averaging. He's more or less living up to his XGI. Though it was interesting, he has actually underperformed a little bit, not by much, his XGI for the first time in quite a while. So does that indicate that he's slowing down a little bit? And that's the one thing I think. New manager slowing down. He did miss more games last year, not by many, than he had done in any other season at Liverpool. Is that a sign that maybe age is catching up? I mean, he is still brilliant. If he keeps those underlying numbers up, he is fantastic. He doesn't even have to achieve that XGI to make him worthwhile. I just have in the back of my mind, new manager, and he just wasn't. He's still an incredible player for FPL he has been. Absolute legend all time. And I know he's in my side right now. We'll reiterate that. But there is just nags in the back of my mind about, will he play every week, or are they going to manage him a little bit? And we know how he feels about not playing minutes. You know, we had that sort of spat with Jurgen Klopp at the end of last season when he was taken off. I just don't know. Will Slot start to protect him a little more, especially with European games coming in? Can they afford to? Is he on a downward slide? No matter how great a player he's got to be, there's got to be a point when age just catches up with us all. I'm not saying he's over the hill and a long way past it, but 12.5 is a lot of money, and you can just do so many other things with that money. So he's in the side. I think those fixtures are just brilliant, so I can't ignore them. He's still on pens. His underlying stats are incredible. Is there another player? If Darwin was nailed up front, would I prefer to go to him instead? I don't know. He's not nailed for me. Let me know what you think about him in the comments below. I'm just not sure. He's in for now. you know, I daren't go without him, it feels. One of the other players on the other side of the spectrum is Morgan Rogers. He's highly popular at the moment as an enabler. For 5 million, you can see why. Broke into the Villa side at the end of last season, and now they've got rid of Diaby. He looks like he could get quite some, you know, he looks optimal to get some minutes for Villa. Now, if he is playing regularly for Villa, very attacking, for 5 million, that's something I don't think I can easily turn aside to. I think he's got to, for 5 million, enable you to spend money elsewhere. Attacking player for Villa sounds great. And the fact he's got, 3 goals or 3 goal involvements in a couple of pre-season games just adds fuel to that fire and feels like a bandwagon that's only going to gather more speed as we go towards the start of the season, depending on how well he does in friendlies. But even if he doesn't contribute any more friendly game sort of goal involvements, if he continues to play and it looks like he's number one choice in that Villa side, then I think 5 million, he probably will have to come in. Ignore the points there. He didn't get 228 points. He certainly didn't. He got sort of 30 odd points. But I really like him. The fixtures don't look too bad either. For 5 million, you don't even mind benching him. Next one on, and I have got enough money to go to Havertz. There are other choices, of course. When I looked at his goals, I just thought, wow, is that all he got? 13. He seems to finish the season so brilliantly. His XGI is fine. 8 million, so he's a fair price. It's not one that I'm wildly excited about, but the fixtures are quite, I don't know, they got Wolves first up, and the fixtures, I wouldn't say are hugely good for Arsenal, but I think Havertz up front, he looks absolutely nailed. There's no one else that's going to wrestle that spot away from him, and Arsenal just going to score goals against everyone. So I do think Havertz is looking a good choice, and that's how the side lines up then. Not much else to say about it. There are obviously those nail places and locked in, but I've got 1 or 2 people that I also want to discuss and options. I mean, the first one's Haaland. It's the elephant in the room, isn't it? I haven't got Haaland. To get him, I'd absolutely, probably, Salah would have to come out, I think, or at least him and Cole Palmer, or at least one of them. I'm just not sure I want to do that. So I'm not even going to go through the pros and cons. I don't want to scare myself with the stats with Haaland, but he could absolutely hurt me. And if that's one of the reasons why I'm a little bit unsure about Salah, because I'd have to downgrade someone like Cole Palmer and a Salah to get Haaland in. But could he still be worth it? The other one I'm keen on is Reece James for 5 million. If he starts playing regularly for Chelsea and he started pre-season, he gets a full pre-season under his belt, 5 million just seems a brilliant, too good to be true for Reece James. So we have to keep an eye on that. But we've been down this road so many times before. But is it still worth taking that risk on him? If he gets a full pre-season and he looks good, yeah, quite possibly it'd be hard to ignore him. He's just such an exciting FPL pick if you played it in the past. Muniz finished the season so well. 6 million, he looks good. So again, with the Haaland money, you could sort of downgrade a Muniz to, a Havertz to a Muniz. And then Watkins could upgrade to Haaland. The other one as well, so don't have, apart from Havertz, any Arsenal players. And this goes for Saka and the best defensive record in the league. They just keep a clean sheet against anyone. They're more than capable. And I don't have any Arsenal defenders. So that is a little bit of a concern for me. We'll have to see about this new signing they've got from Italy. Not even going to try and pronounce his name. Where does he slot into that back four? Timber as well. How does he fit in there? And how's all that going to pan out? Because if Kivior ends up still being a pretty good choice for Arsenal, then he's a way in that could be quite cheap, but we'll just have to work out what happens. And Garnacho's another one. I mean, I haven't even talked about players like Gordon, who just looks fantastic options. There's so many different ones to choose of between, but Garnacho's nailed on for Man United as well. He looks good for 6.5. So many choices in that midfield, which makes the likes of Rodgers quite hard, I think, to end up trying to go for. I'm going to leave it there, or else I could be rambling on for absolutely ever. I haven't even put the FPL League code up. I'll put that in the description below. But that's my initial thoughts on draft. No doubt it will change many times between now and the beginning of the season. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you know when the new videos are being released. And I'd love to hear from you. And send me your teams. We'd love to do a video about rating them as well. In the meantime, guys, until the next one, thanks for watching. Speak to you soon.